Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into ACIM, Lesson 148, which is a deep dive into review lessons 135 and 136. If you've ever found yourself feeling a bit overwhelmed by the original text of this course, trust me, you're in the right place. Today, we're going to take these incredibly profound, somewhat abstract spiritual concepts and translate them into relatable, everyday wisdom that absolutely anyone can understand and put to use right away. So here are the two foundational review lessons we're unpacking today. Lesson 135 says, if I defend myself, I am attacked. And Lesson 136 tells us, sickness is a defense against the truth. Now, I know what you're thinking. These statements sound completely counterintuitive at first glance. I mean, defending myself means I'm actually being attacked. Sickness is a defense mechanism. It sounds totally backward, right? Well, let's roll up our sleeves and make sense of what this text is actually trying to teach us. But before we break down those two specific statements, we've got to look at the overarching theme that binds Lesson 148 together, which is this: my mind holds only what I think with God. You can kind of think of this as your mental anchor. The big idea here is that all our daily worries, our fears, the random chaotic thoughts bouncing around our heads, they're essentially just mental clutter. This single focusing thought is designed to sweep away all that noise and bring you back to a baseline of total peace before we even begin to look at our defenses. Section 1. Deconstructing Lesson 135, Translating Ancient Wisdom into Modern Application. Okay, so when we talk about defense in this context, we aren't talking about locking your front door at night or making sure you're wearing a seatbelt. We're talking about the heavy, exhausting psychological armor we wear. It's that ingrained mental habit of constantly anticipating threats, always planning for the worst-case scenario, and building up these massive emotional walls just to protect our ego. It's the daily mental gymnastics we put ourselves through whenever we feel vulnerable. Let's translate this into plain English. If I defend myself, I am attacked. Essentially means that anticipating the worst actually creates a state of inner conflict and vulnerability within you. Why is that? Well, because the very act of building a mental defense implies that you fundamentally believe you're weak, fragile, and under threat. By constantly preparing for an attack in your mind, you're actively dragging the fear and stress of that imagined attack right into your present reality. You are, quite literally, attacking your own peace of mind. And the text brilliantly points out how this plays out in our normal, everyday lives. We unknowingly defend ourselves by attempting to perfectly plan the future, by constantly reactivating and dwelling on past hurts, and by trying to organize our present lives out of a deep sense of fear. Just think about how much of your energy goes into obsessively mapping out every possible negative outcome just so you can avoid it. When you operate this way, you're functioning from a core belief that you are inherently in danger. You aren't actually preventing an attack, you're just living in the perpetual anxiety of one. It's a cycle of fear that never ever truly keeps you safe. So, the brilliant shift here, and what I really want you to take away from this first part of the explainer, is realizing that dropping this heavy mental armor is actually where your true strength resides. Real safety doesn't come from having a perfectly fortified mind. It comes from defenselessness. When you finally stop anticipating threats, you allow yourself to just be. You realize that your true core self absolutely cannot be threatened by the unpredictable, shifting circumstances of the outside world. Section 2. Deconstructing Lesson 136, Reframing How Our Minds Use Distress. Just like we did with the word defense, we really need to redefine sickness within the context of this spiritual philosophy. Sickness here is presented as a subconscious mental strategy. It represents literally any form of distress, pain, or inner chaos that our minds use as a distraction. It's a highly calculated way of avoiding the reality of our own profound, unshakable, peaceful nature. Sickness is a defense against the truth. When we break this down, it reveals something pretty incredible about human nature. We actually use inner chaos to avoid accepting our own invulnerable peace. The truth it's referring to here is that you are whole, you are safe, and you are eternal. But deeply accepting that truth, well, that requires letting go of the ego. It means releasing our cherished grievances and surrendering this identity we have as a vulnerable victim of circumstance. And honestly, sometimes that surrender feels utterly terrifying to us. Now, I know what you might be thinking right now, and it raises a truly fascinating question. Why on earth would our minds actively choose distress or chaos as a shield? Why would anyone ever subconsciously choose to be miserable instead of peaceful? We do this in a split second of self-deception to maintain a false sense of identity. The primary purpose of this whole illusion is to hide reality. We use our distress to, quote-unquote, prove to ourselves that we are just these fragile physical bodies, separate from one another, and totally cut off from any universal truth. Think about it. If we're in distress, the ego feels justified, it feels active, and most importantly, it feels like it's in control. We silence the quiet, eternal part of ourselves because the noise of our own chaos is familiar to us. Boundless peace can actually feel deeply intimidating to a mind that has spent its entire existence constantly playing defense. Fortunately, there is a remarkably simple way out of this trap. Truth has a power far beyond defense. The very moment we recognize what we are doing, the moment we can clearly see that our inner chaos is just a defense mechanism, we can just lay down those mental arms. You don't even have to fight the illusion. You literally just have to stop defending it, take a breath, and the truth effortlessly returns to fill the space. Section 3, your daily practice. How to implement lessons 135 and 136. Okay, so understanding the theory is great, but here is your exact daily regimen to actually apply this to your life. First, you need to dedicate exactly 15 minutes. You can absolutely carve out 15 minutes for yourself, right? Second, repeat this practice twice a day. Maybe try once in the morning to set your baseline and once later on in the evening. Third, during this time, you have to completely rest your mind from planning. No organizing your schedule, no worrying about tomorrow, no dwelling on what happened yesterday. And fourth, simply focus on receiving truth instead of trying to organize or control your reality. Just sit in that quiet, completely defenseless space. Now, during those 2 15-minute sessions, your mind will probably start to wander back to planning or worrying. It's natural. When it does, you have a specific anchor. Use this mantra. If I defend myself, I am attacked. But in defenselessness, I will be strong, and I will learn what my defenses hide. Saying this slowly and intentionally is going to help you consciously let go of that heavy mental armor, reminding you that true strength is actually found in stillness, not in frantic preparation. To finish up this explainer and truly lock in this wisdom, let's firmly reiterate our main statements for Lesson 148. Lesson 135, if I defend myself, I am attacked. Always remember, your defensiveness breeds vulnerability. Anticipating the worst just creates more fear. And Lesson 136, sickness is a defense against the truth. Remember that your inner chaos, your pain, and your distress are just subconscious distractions trying to keep you from experiencing your natural, unshakable state of peace. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. What would actually happen if you dropped your defenses, let go of the mental armor, and stopped trying to control the future for just 15 minutes twice today? You might just find that profound peace you've been exhausting yourself trying to protect. If you found value in this explainer today, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives just like this one. Thanks so much for learning with me.